Namaste and welcome to this podcast on the occasion of International Yoga Day. I'm Dr. Sirisha, Pediatric Dermatologist, and today we are here exploring a fascinating connection between yoga, immunity, skin health, stress levels, and overall well-being. Today we have with us for the conversation Mrs. Athni Shetty ma'am, a holistic wellness expert who has over a decade of experience with yoga and body-mind training. Welcome ma'am, we are delighted to have you here. Ma'am is an internationally certified 900 plus yoga art teacher, yoga therapist, breathwork facilitator, and sound therapist. Trained in the ancient traditional schools of Mysore, Ma'am very beautifully blends the ancient yogic wisdom with the modern wellness practices and helps people reduce their stress level and also helps in their overall well-being. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for being with us today and we welcome you.
My pleasure, Sirisha.
This podcast is designed with the concept in mind that as dermatologists, we are seeing a lot of chronic inflammatory skin conditions and autoimmune skin conditions, especially in children. It's very painful to see those conditions in that age group. Now, as modern medicine gives only a part of the treatment, now parents these days are more interested in having complementary therapies as well for the holistic well-being of the child. Now, one of such approaches is yoga, which India has gifted to the world. So, ma'am, would it be more beneficial that we introduce these practices early in the childhood than postponing them to the adulthood?
Absolutely, no doubts. And science backs this beautifully. Uh, Starting yoga at a young age, to put it very simply, is like planting a seed and seeing it grow rather than once a tree is fully born and then you go to repair it. Okay, so childhood is when the nervous system is at its most plastic, most malleable, where any kind of growth and changes happen. For example, now you teach a child to regulate the nervous system through their breath. It is a skill which stays with them, which is like probably learning a new language at an early age. The earlier you learn, the easier it is, and the more faster you pick up. From a yogic perspective, childhood is actually called the balavastha. So the most fertile time to, subscribe into their samskaras, create impressions in their mind, and this stays for a lifetime. Anything that you teach at this point, body consciousness, awareness, mindfulness, breath, lifestyle practices, all this stays with them for a lifetime. Now, if you look at it from a clinical perspective, autoimmune diseases, usually skin diseases and all, usually their onset is in childhood. So the earlier you start yoga, the body builds resilience so that it is able to come out of this grip that these diseases will have if it goes without any break.
Excellent, ma'am. That's a valid point, and it is definitely very, very important to start as early as possible. So, as I mentioned earlier, there is a significant rise in the autoimmune diseases in children. So, ma'am, from a yogic perspective, why do you think the body is attacking itself?
Okay, so from a yogic point of view, health is a state of harmony. Okay, anything that causes disharmony, the rise of the disease is when there is disharmony in the body. If you look at yogic philosophy, it's called prajna parta, a mistake in the intellect. Okay, when the individual consciousness loses its connect to the deeper self, that is when the body starts attacking itself, not recognizing itself. So in a clinical perspective, if you look at it, it is your immune system attacking the own tissues. So when there is now, like I said, disease is when there is disharmony between mind body breath connection, or between effort and rest, between activity and recovery. All these states send the body into stress, and then there is disharmony, and this in turn leads to inflammation. Inflammation might lead to skin diseases.
So, from a medical perspective, we see various causes like lifestyle changes, sedentary lifestyle, lack of proper sleep, or genetic factors predominantly, environmental factors, junk foods, and all these as the triggers of autoimmunity. So, how do you think yoga can benefit at least some of these factors, regular yoga practice?
Okay, yoga cannot influence genetic factors directly as such because they are inborn, but it can definitely influence the factors that have an impact on how the genes express themselves. Okay, so in children especially, all these the skin inflammations and the allergies in the skin or the scalp is a result of inflammation in the body. And inflammation for children starts with their mind at the manomaya kosha level. Intellectually they are stressed out. Intellectually, as in your physical environment around you, they are stressed because of their studies, because of their body consciousness, because of lack of sleep, because of the junk of food. The gut mobility is not good, gut health is not good. So all these kind of stress increases the stress in the children, and this leads to the autoimmune conditions for them.
Yes. Modern medicine identifies usually genetic factors, environmental factors, lifestyle changes like sedentary lifestyle, eating a lot of junk foods, etc., as triggers of autoimmunity. How can yoga address some of these issues?
So yoga does not influence the genetic factors directly, but it can definitely influence the factors which have an impact on how genes express themselves. So now in terms of children, they are affected, like we say from a yogic perspective, the manomaya kosha. So your thinking brain, where you're affected because of all the overstimulation, overexposure to, all kinds of TV or online, your junk food. All these are overstimulation in terms of it could be physical overstimulation, mental overstimulation. All this leads to stress in the children. It could also be peer pressure, body awareness because they are more shameful of their bodies. All these things kind of lead to pressure to children. So the way yoga acts on is the biggest thing is it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Yoga works on the activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and recovery, which is more stillness, which creates that calm in the mind and the body, and these brings about a harmony. So that's how it works.
Yes, it's very much true that even in science, logically also, regular yoga practice has shown to improve the sleep quality and emotional resilience or stability
Absolutely.
because it decreases the stress hormone, which is cortisol. And also, as ma'am has mentioned rightly, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms the body. So definitely, it is helpful in regulating all these factors. Most parents believe that yoga is just flexibility and exercise. How do you explain this as a tool for overall health, including skin and hair?
Okay, this is my pet grouse calling yoga stretching. Okay, so yoga goes stretching is probably just 1/10 of yoga. Yoga goes way beyond stretching. Yoga is a lifestyle. Okay, it's a whole way of living a life. It's not just the stretching. I just go into this into a little depth. Yoga is an eightfold path. You have yamas, rules for society, how you behave in society, niyamas, rules for yourself, asana, which is what you call the stretching, okay, pranayama, which is your breath, pratyahara is when you start going inwards, dharana is when you start concentrating, dhyana is when you let go, samadhi is when you reach the equilibrium between yourself and the universe. So it's an eightfold path of which stretching is just one bit of it. So yoga is much beyond stretching. If I want to put it broadly, I would say it affects at 4 levels. Now, in terms of the nervous system, like I said, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, so thereby reducing the production of cortisol and adrenaline in the body. The second thing is it affects the circulatory system. It increases the blood circulation, it increases the detoxification, yogic practices, thereby working on the circulatory system. Fourth is hormone, at the hormone level, the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamus, your pituitary, and adrenaline. When these are highly activated, it creates an inflammation cascade. So again, the yoga practices modulate the HPA axis. Fourth, very, very important, is the gut, skin, brain axis again, all these points. So inflammation in your gut, when there is a lot of inflammation, then the intestine permeability increases and these inflammatory molecules go into the bloodstream and these come into the skin and create havoc in the skin. So when all these four systems, you have a certain amount of, I'm not saying that perfect balance, when you have a certain amount of balance, then you see good health in terms of your skin, in terms of your scalp, which in turn shows in your glowing skin, good hair health and all. Any disbalance here again leads to inflammation. That's how it comes out. So basically it's all at 4 levels, starting from the manomaya into your gut, into your expressing into the physical body.
Excellent point, because as ma'am has mentioned, the gut, skin, and brain axis, it's very important in area of ongoing research. So your good health starts from your gut, basically, and that defines your immunity and also your overall health, and of course, definitely the skin and the hair health. And also, I should tell my own experience where when I started yoga with ma'am, maybe after pregnancy it is for weight loss, maybe I started for that, but then I realized it is much more beyond that. And I multitask a lot, and I got a lot of emotional stability as well. So I'm still continuing the journey with ma'am and very grateful for that.
Most welcome, Sirisha. And she's one of my top senior students. She does really well.
Children with autoimmune diseases often experience a lot of anxiety, low self-esteem, and many of them go into depression as well. So, ma'am, can yoga help them build emotional resilience?
Absolutely. This is where the biggest gift of yoga is when it comes to children, emotional resilience that you're talking of. Medicine just treats the skin, okay? It calms the skin, so to say. But yoga treats the child inside his or her own skin. Children usually with inflammatory skin disease, I have also seen they're very conscious of their body. They're ashamed of their body because some of it is extremely visible. So they become very, they lose their confidence, self-confidence in them. Emotionally also they go down, like you said, there are cases of depression, anxiety and all because of this. What yoga does it when you're working with your body, with your breath, being very, very mindful of it, when you're moving mindfully, and you incorporate practices like pranayama, which start improving your breathing capacity. All these improves the vagal tone in the body, creating that sense of calmness, that sense of stability, that sense of grounding, which is very important for a child, where the child begins to start getting more confident in their own skin. They are, so to say, once they feel a little more physical appearance apart, once they get that inner resilience, that confidence in their own skin, in their own body, when all this happens, when physically you start feeling stronger, you sleep better. Sleeping better for especially children with skin issues, I know they scratch a lot, so the sleep is disturbed. So when all these things improve, automatically their confidence in themselves improve, and that um, shows up on the exterior also. So,
Yes, definitely. It is a positive cycle, I would say.
yes,
So
yes,
once they attain emotional stability, their skin also heals better, and then they'll
absolutely,
definitely feel confident in their own
absolutely.
skin. So I think it's one thing that parents have to work on and focus more on enrolling children into these activities, which maybe in India it is not so common these days, but I would encourage more parents to explore these options for their children at the earliest.
Yeah, especially in this day and age, what I tell anybody, be it a child or be it an adult, is move.
Yes.
People are just sitting at their desk, children are just sitting with their iPads, with their mobiles, with their tabs. Games have become more online rather than going out and playing. Go out, be in the fresh air, mindful practices like yoga, anything, move, don't sit in one place. And even things have become so easy, Insta, Swiggy. Earlier, you want to go down, you will go to the supermarket and get, now you don't want to do that also. So, times.
So it's a known fact that stress aggravates a lot of pediatric skin issues like eczemas, acne, urticarias, even hair loss problems. So how does yoga help in relieving the stress, and also which yogic practices help in lowering this stress response, especially in younger people?
Okay, yoga definitely relieves stress, whether it be children or whether it be adults. Now, the specific yogic practices, especially when it comes to children, you can take an integrated approach. But if you ask me personally in terms of ranking, I would probably go with pranayama first because it's quick and it's fast and it's something that can be done, anywhere. So for children, especially something as simple, for children, you should not make it very, very structured, especially young children. You have to allow them to, play with the practice, and that attracts them to it. So something like the Brahmari pranayama, okay, the humming bees pranayama, this kind of pranayama, the children do it playfully, they enjoy it also, and it is extremely research backed also, shows that a regular, at least say 3 to 4 times also, pranayama of 9 to 10 rounds shows a significant decrease in the salivary cortisol level in children when done over a period of 2 to 3 months. So pranayama, I think, would be most easily accessible, where you can sit and just do the Brahmari regularly. Then asana practice where you combine, for children, I'm not going to suggest very intense practices, a gentle movement based practice, combining it with the breath and combining it with mindfulness and grounding your presence more than, uh, what level of advancement you're going to. This kind of practice helps. Third very important practice is a habit of meditation or yogic nidra. Okay, meditation is good for children if they are able to sit, but sometimes, especially teenagers, their mind is moving from one subject to the other. So um, these inflammations that come in from a yogic perspective, it's when your thoughts, the speed of thoughts is extremely at a high rate. You are not in one subject, you're moving from one subject to other. So you have to try and reduce the speed of thoughts. One way is meditation. Meditation can be a little tough for children to start off with. So the other beautiful way is yoga nidra, where we use body scan relaxation methods in their shavasana itself, to slowly guide them into deeper and deeper states of relaxation. And teenagers especially, they just love. I'm not saying going to sleep. This is a very mindful and awareness of their own body, but slowly the system slows down, the parasympathetic system kicks in. And as a sound therapist in a yoga nidra, I also use the sound bowls. So the vibration of these sound bowls, the yoga nidra state, which is guided verbally by me, these kind of things are very, very effective for reducing the stress and bringing the child's nervous system into highly regulated states. I would term it pranayama, asana, and meditation or yoga nidra.
Oh, well said, ma'am. And as a parent, one small trick or tip I would give is for children, especially younger children, when you want them to do yoga, it's better you do first and let them just explore when you are doing it. What I try with my kids, and she comes and just does one or two asanas, and then she gets out of the room. But at least she's kind of familiar with what yoga is to her level.
Yeah, haven't I seen that with so many of my
Yeah.
students, where their children come in and I encourage it. Even older children come in, participate. They might just do 15-20 minutes, but that awareness is there. And I have a lot of these children who once they are turned older, they will show up on occasions, yoga day and all that. They show up on their own to do the practices. I had an example of a toddler also who her parents were doing. So she used to come and do vrikshasana, which is actually difficult for a little one. So, some things children just need to see their
They
parents
mimic.
doing it.
They,
Yes,
they're good mimickers. So
yes, yes,
I
that's
think
it.
you should do it first and then they'll follow you.
Absolutely.
So, ma'am, one common question that parents ask is how early can we start yoga practice in children? And what are the common yoga practices that we can adopt in them to build a lifelong, resilient, and healthy body?
Yeah, so yoga you can start as early as at 4 years of age. You can start, like I said at the very initial point, that the earlier they start, the more resilient they become. Um, so I always say, there is a saying by Bruce Lee, one kick a day for 1,000 days is better than 1,000 kicks a day in one day. Okay, so consistency. So even if they are able to do a 20 to 30 minute practice, they don't need a 1 hour strong practice twice a week. Instead of that 20 to 30, even 20 minutes, say they are able to do 3 to 5 times a week, that's absolutely brilliant for any of these children suffering from skin inflammations or rashes, or even otherwise. For children, anything between 3 to 5 sessions will give them the benefits of the yogic practice. Now,
Parents with children suffering from eczema often ask me questions, doctor, are there any interventions beyond the creams and medications that you give or a holistic approach? So, ma'am, what would you suggest? What is a good dose of yoga for children, especially 6 to 12 years of age group? How many minutes or how many days a week can they go for it?
okay, like I said, medicine treats the condition. It doesn't treat why the condition developed in the first place. So it treats the skin of the child. but the child inside, living inside that skin, it doesn't treat. So yoga goes all the way, creates that inner resilience and stillness in the child. Now, a quick, I would say 15-minute practice. I can give you a 15-minute practice, and I've given it a special name for you. It's called Sky. So it's a skin. K is for calm, of course, C is calm, but K is for calm, and Y is you as in the child. So in this, what you do is, now supposing a child has come back from school, they are tired. So 2 to 3 minutes of deep belly breathing. Okay, you can start with belly breathing so that they start disconnecting from all what has happened in their day, and then they start focusing on bringing their breath into their belly. Then second, very, very important, simple practice once they get into the habit, Surya Namaskars. 2 to 3 minutes of Surya Namaskars, also endocrine, nervous system, gut health, all these things get covered. After this, they can do a practice of butterfly, Purna Titli, with lot of forward folds increased. So like I said earlier, from your gut health, it starts moving into starts expressing itself in the skin. So all these stimulate the gut motility or abdominal organs and all that. And post this, they could do the Brahmari chanting, the bumblebee's breath, followed by Om chanting or anything, any bhajans or Satnam chanting, anything which builds that communal sense also in the children when they are practicing with the other children. And last, close off with 2 to 3 minutes of a yoga nidra. So this entire thing is done in 15 minutes. It can be done easily. So
It sounds interesting and easy as well, easy to follow for young children also. And all these forward folds and what ma'am has mentioned, they increase the gut motility and also they increase the gut microbiome diversity, means they increase the good bacteria in the gut. So which is very important for the overall gut health and immune health of the child. We have seen a lot of children, especially school going children, having a lot of stress before the exams, which is aggravating their acne, psoriasis, eczema, etc. So, ma'am, can you give them a first aid yoga toolkit, a 5-minute practice where they can do it just before the exam to relieve the stress?
absolutely. First, I need to take care that the children are not conscious of what they are doing. Nowadays, children don't want to be noticed, and so as it is, wherever they are sitting or standing, they can simply practice a deep inhale with a deep exhale. Very, very simple, 5 to 6 breaths. They can probably, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inhale and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exhale. So 3 to 4 such breaths, they can just do it in the comfort. Nobody is even watching them. Second thing, and this they will have to do it with presence, grounding your feet, just feeling your presence over there, cutting off literally from everybody and just doing this very, very consciously. Immediately, the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, cortisol levels slowly start dropping down. The second thing that they can do is, usually children studying days, hours, sleepless nights, they build tension in their neck and their shoulders. This becomes very, very tight. So simple inhale up, exhale down, shoulder shrugs. They can do something like this, or shoulder rotations wherever they are. Very simple movements like this releases the tension in their shoulders and neck area. Another thing that they can do is, standing or sitting on the chair itself, they just gently bend forward into a ragdoll, completely, let go kind of posture, where again you increase the blood circulation into your face, into your brain, your shoulders, your neck, and all becomes a little more. What has been tight will start dissolving. So forward fold there, a ragdoll posture, as simple as that. Brahmari chanting is another thing which I always suggest everybody at any point of time, which, you can simply close your ears. If that is also not possible, you can just sit wherever you are and do the hummingbee's breath. Immediately the vagal tone comes down and you're totally, calm, ready to take on your exams. The last thing they can conclude is, they can start with a 4-5 count inhale, hold the breath for 2-3 counts, and then exhale through the mouth or the nostril. Again, this is very visibly when you're holding a little tension, and then when you release it, the stress leaves the body. So these 5 things will be done in just 2 to 3 minutes.
I think that's a very important thing for school going children and all the teenagers who are out there giving exams.
So simplest, I keep telling, no, inhale, exhale consciously, not just in and out. 3-4 counts inhale, 4-5 counts exhale. Medical interventions treat the skin condition. Yoga allows the child to actively participate in his or her own healing without being totally dependent on the medicines. So, a child with skin inflammatory conditions, the doctor, or from a scientific point of view, they will give the best of the creams, the best of the medicines and antibiotics to heal this condition. But for a child who is living with the stigma of that condition, that physical appearance of such condition, they start beginning to feel ashamed of their own bodies. They start losing their inner confidence. Their emotionally also they become slightly unstable. So it is here where yoga does its magic, bringing back that lost confidence in the child, that emotional resilience in the child through the practices of grounding, mindfulness, breath work, breath awareness. So through all this, yoga makes that child a little more confident in his or her own skin. And this kind of resilience which you start building helps the child to cope up with the repercussions of the skin disease. And over a period of time, when done regularly in combination with the medicines, it regulates the nervous system in such a way that finally they are able to gain control over their conditions.
So this is what we are primarily targeting at. The disease should not control the child. The child should be able to control the disease, and
So
that is when we really achieved it.
yeah, so that is the most important point, where yoga allows the child to actively participate in his or her healing. That is the word I would use for it, so that the child becomes comfortable in his or her own skin.
And finally, ma'am, which pose or pranayama or any practice you go to when your skin or mind is under stress?
Okay, I have a lot of tricks in my bag. So, but one of the go-to things is an alternate nostril breathing or nadi shodhana. Okay, this is something that at the early signs of stress, something mild, something less, then I immediately go for nadi shodhana. Some days now I am a Ashtanga yoga teacher. I teach Hatha, I teach Power yoga, I teach therapeutic yoga, but I'm very fond of movement. The Ashtanga yoga movement with breath gives me a lot of joy. So for me, it's again stress reduction. Doesn't have to be 1 hour practice. It can be just a 10 to 15, maybe just a few rounds of Surya Namaskar, or maybe a 10-minute round of Vinyasa. This works beautifully for me for short term. Now, long term stress, I've not had time. I've been going through things day on day. That is when I go to deep breath work. Okay, conscious connected breathing, wherein I my inhalation and my exhalations goes continuously without a break, and I'm connected to my breathing, and this shifts my energy levels. So this is a go-to when I'm feeling a little more stress or there is accumulated stress. And if you this was active recovery. If you're looking at active passive recovery, simple viparita karni, go put your legs against the wall. You can start with even 2 to 3 minutes. Your blood circulation starts reversing, lymphatic flow starts reversing, vagal tone improves, quick relief. To this, as a sound vibrational practitioner, I would put one of my sound balls on my sternum probably, and I give it a strike with my mallet for a beautiful vibrational therapy. So it's a combination of yoga, it's a combination of humming, it's a combination of sound. Quick heal, 4 to 5 minutes, any of these.
Sounds interesting, isn't it? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. To sum up, yoga is not just about flexibility. It is much more beyond physical activity. And medicine heals the disease, but yoga is about self-regulation. So the combination of medicine and self-regulation is, I think, is more powerful than either alone. So as I will close this with a quote, a famous quote, which ma'am always says: "Movement is medicine."
Movement is medicine and yoga is a lifestyle. So teach that to your children at an early age. You're giving them more than money or any other things. It's a gift for a lifetime. It's a lifestyle. If they are able to slowly start incorporating it, it's a gift for a lifetime. Thank you so much, Sirisha, for having me here.
It's our pleasure. Thank you, ma'am.